Senator Rausch, thank you for joining us again this week. Down in my neck of the woods, North Attleboro, the town is drawing up plans to allow restaurants in the downtown to set up outside, not only on the sidewalk, but in the street. The town would block off sections of the downtown, set up detours, etc. From what I understand, nothing against you, but the state is holding things up, and it's has to deal with alcoholic licenses and allowing people to have alcohol outside. Any idea? I know there's a bill in the House. There's something similar in the Senate.
Yes, there are. I believe there are two fairly similar bills. I, of course, have been most acquainted with the one in the Senate that was filed by Senator Feeney. And that bill, I believe, should be moving to a substantive committee relatively soon. Maybe even it might have even happened this morning in session. It might happen. I haven't gotten the word yet. But that bill should move at least to a committee where a hearing hearing might happen or testimony can be solicited. North Attleboro certainly isn't alone in that desire. Restaurants have been some of the hardest hit businesses in this pandemic period. It's real tough, we know. And frankly, also, from the business side is certainly really important, and also from a community side, the restaurants are really important. This is what we do together, is break bread together and have meals together, and it's part of who we are as a social community. So I certainly look forward to seeing how that bill progresses. I haven't had time to really get into the weeds on it, but I am aware of it. I know my colleagues are aware of it, and so I think we're all going to be taking a close look at it, hopefully in short order.
I realize you're not the president of the Senate, not yet anyway, but it would seem common sense to do this as quickly as possible. Let's face it, we live in New England. June, July, August, you start getting into October, and I'm not sure I'd want to be seated outside. At the same time, if anything gets rushed through, you don't always think of the ramifications of a quick action.
Right. I had a colleague of mine recently say to me, his like legislative drafting rule 101: when in doubt, leave it out. And I think that is a great rule, and I continue to try to follow it in everything that I do. Yes, we always need to stop and think very carefully about any potential unintended consequences. Really think through all of the work that we are doing. So I don't know what the timeline will be. I am not the Senate president, nor am I the chair of Ways and Means. So and it's also not my bill. So I will be looking at it and taking a look at it as soon as my sort of moment in the process comes. But I know that all of us are really focused on helping small businesses, helping people, helping us sort of feel like some sense of normalcy, some kind of sense of community. And part of that is eating and drinking. It's just part of who we are. So I do hope to be able to take a look at that real soon.
Some of us are better at it than others, that's for sure. One bill that you're certainly aware of, it's one that you sponsored, is voting by mail. I know in your town you recently voted. North Attleboro has a town election coming up the end of June. Plainville has a town election coming up the end of June. Any progress being made for the September 1st and November 3rd elections?
Not as of yet. All of those bills, as you know, were heard in a hearing a couple of weeks ago by the Elections Committee. No bill has yet come out of the Elections Committee. I don't have a timeline as to when the committee will issue a report, and we'll have to see what product we will get out of that committee. I do want to stress for the local elections, yep, Plainville's coming up, I believe, on June 29th, and which is a Monday, and North Attleboro is the very next day on Tuesday the 30th. It is possible for everyone to vote by mail in your local elections, and I cannot stress enough how important it is to submit your applications for those ballots as early as possible. If you are watching this, push the pause button, go print and download your application now and fill it out and take care of it right now. And here's why. I live in Needham, and our town election was just this past week. I did vote, of course, and my spouse also did vote. We also requested our mail-in ballots. Now, we printed out the forms and we downloaded them and filled them out by hand. There's nothing, you can't submit it online. So there are a lot of steps to make this happen, but we did our due diligence. We printed it out, we filled them out, we stuck them in an envelope, and I said, okay, I'm going to take this envelope and I'm going to go drop it in the drop box at town hall because I was nervous about it not getting there on time if I stuck it in the mail. So I did that, and then of course, life happened, and the envelope sat on my desk for a few days, and then all of a sudden I said, oh wait, it's the week before, I got to get this envelope over to town hall. So on Thursday before the election, on Tuesday, I drove over to town hall and dropped it off. No problem. The applications were not due until Friday at noon. Got it in, fine. And the town clerk I know then sent out the ballots. But we looked in the mail on Friday, not expecting to see the ballots, and surely they did not come. And then on Saturday, the mail came, no ballots in the mail. Monday, no mail on Sunday, of course, no mail on Monday either, because it was Memorial Day. And then Tuesday rolled around, and the ballots, we kept checking the mail. Are the ballots here? Are the ballots here? And the mail was late. And the polls closed at 4 o'clock. And so, we usually get our mail around 12:30, 1 o'clock. And so I looked for the mail, no mail, looked, and finally got to be 3 o'clock with less than about an hour to go before the polls closed. And I said, I think we're going to have to go and vote in person, even though we've done all the things. It's nobody's fault, but like this system doesn't work, right? This opt-in system does not work. And so both of us, and Peter, we have young kids, so we couldn't go together to the polls. We had to take turns driving to the polling place, put on the mask and make sure that we have all the safety things. And we are in this, I feel like a somewhat small subset of the population who actually can go and vote in person, despite our, cautions and hazards and all the risks that we know we take on whenever we're interacting with people. But we are in the middle of a pandemic. The whole point of all of the work that all of us have been doing is to maintain our physical distance and keep our distance from others to the greatest extent we can to prevent the spread of COVID-19. And now here we are with less than an hour to go before the polls close, and we're rushing to the polls to vote. And can you imagine if it were the primary, where we have significantly higher turnout than a local election, or the general, where we have exponentially higher turnout? That is the express thing that we are trying to avoid, and that happened. Again, nobody's fault except a flawed, by request only mail-in system, which is why those automatic mail ballots provisions in the 2020 Vote by Mail Act that I filed back in April are so important. So lesson learned.
It gives you a great example when debating on the Senate floor, that's for sure.
Yes, indeed. And I actually subsequently heard from, and I'm continuing to hear from constituents in Needham who were not able to vote at all because they didn't know the polls were closing at 4 o'clock and they showed up at 4:30, or their ballots didn't come, or they got confused about, they requested a mail-in ballot, but it didn't come, and they didn't know that they could actually go and vote in person because they thought they were prohibited from doing that just by requesting their mail-in ballot. There are all sorts of things. I got an email from one person who said, you know what, I tried to figure out how to get my mail-in and ballot and submit that application, and it was just so confusing that I stopped. And I just stopped. And that's just not good enough. It's just not good enough.
Your office, although you're reporting from home, your office is still handling constituent services. I know the number ends with 555, but for people who need help through your office, how should they go about getting it?
Yeah, give us a call, 617-722-1555. There it is. We are not physically there to pick up the phone, but we are checking that voicemail all the time, routinely, multiple times a day. You can send me an email directly, becca.rausch@masenate.gov. You can head over to the website, beccarauschma.com. If you add /COVID-19, you'll get right to all of our COVID-19 resources. We send a weekly email update at this point. For several weeks prior, this was bi-weekly. There was one week we even sent out 3 emails. So we are really doing everything we can to provide resources, supports. We've helped hundreds, if not thousands, of people with unemployment, small businesses, basically anything under the sun. All of those, the need has not decreased, and all of the needs and areas where people needed support from before the pandemic are all still here. So we are here for you. Please don't hesitate to reach out. You can find us on social media as well.
This past Monday was Memorial Day, certainly different than any Memorial Day I can ever remember. I know you traveled to at least a couple of the communities you served. One of them was my neck of the woods, Attleboro.
Yeah, Attleboro had the Hillside Cemetery graveside service on Sunday of Memorial Day weekend. It's a 137-year-old tradition. It's very honored to take part in that again this year, while maintaining physical distancing and mask wearing and all the things that we need to do to protect our personal and public health at this point. I was really grateful that the weather was so beautiful, and I hope everybody had a safe and happy 3-day weekend.